Last night's episode of Raw was one of the most newsworthy shows they've put on, and easily in my top three favorite episodes of Raw for 2024. There's been a lot of good ones, and there's been a lot of not so good ones, but this one was a top three for me because almost every segment was a banger, and they did three massive angles to continue the show and continue the storylines. The thing you have to understand is that historically speaking, back in the days of the Vince McMahon era, when you got past December, when you got to December, oftentimes, and many of you have been longtime fans will remember this, they kind of went on cruise control. And that's always been the way they book. Like, if there's a December pay-per-view, after that pay-per-view, sometimes even before, they will have these shows that are kind of, inconsequential. And then when January comes around, that's when they start booking for the Royal Rumble. This year, it's a bit different because there is no December pay-per-view or January pay-per-view. Now, Survivor Series was right at the very end of November, so it's close enough. And February 1st is the Royal Rumble, so it's right after January. But nevertheless, this is the first time in a long time that we haven't had a pay-per-view for 2 calendar months. Now, that gives them about 8 or so weeks to build up the Royal Rumble. However, in January, when they go to Netflix, that's when we're really going to see the big kick because that's when John Cena is going to come back and everything's going to go into high gear. But this show, the opening segment of this show was absolutely phenomenal because you had CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and Sami Zayn. If you haven't seen it, go out of your way to see it and then come back and listen to my thoughts on it. The reason why this worked is because not only are all three guys baby faces and there's three guys who are great talkers, but the way this promo was structured is that it makes sense to those who are somewhat casual or younger wrestling fans. But if you've been around the block, the promo made even more sense. The story of of Punk and Seth Rollins, like their whole behind the scenes drama that led to some angles they shot last year and early this year. Because remember, at one time, Punk and Seth was the planned WrestleMania world title match, but that was changed because of course injuries and Punk got hurt. But Punk and Seth is a program that has been teased for a long time, and they kind of continued the teasing here. Then you had the whole Sami Zayn thing. Now, what I loved about it is they referenced not only, Sami whacking Roman with the chair, but also the fact that Seth did the same thing 10 years ago, and that's what made Roman Reigns the monster. Beautiful storytelling here. Beautiful, because the reason why this is great is because all these characters, Punk, Seth, Sami, even Jey Uso, they all have these relationships and they all have these, I guess you can say, dark pasts. They've done things they regret, right? They've been heels before. And I love how they kind of subtly talked about that. Like, we made mistakes and this and that. And it was just a very, very, very good angle. And it led to the booking of the main event later on in the show, which would be Seth Rollins and Sami Zayn. But Punk and Seth got physical, but they're probably not going to get physical every week because this is continuing. So I loved when Seth brought up the fact that they came up together because that's true. 2007 was the highlight year for those two guys. In Ring of Honor, Kevin Steen and El Generico, a.k.a. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, they really got over in 2007. They had this match with the Briscoes and this feud with the Briscoes, Jay and Mark, rest in peace Jay, that elevated them to main event status in Ring of Honor. I mean, they had tons of matches. And the most prolific one was the Ladder War. After the Ladder War happened, who debuted in Ring of Honor? Tyler Black, a.k.a. Seth Rollins, as the Age of the Fall. So from 2007 to around 2009, 2010, Seth Rollins and Sami Zayn were top guys in not just Ring of Honor, but other indies as well. So it sort of benefits you if you know about wrestling because it didn't go like super duper insider, like dirt sheet type of, inside baseball, insider wrestling terminology storytelling. They didn't do that, right? They didn't really go that far. Because that's kind of the stuff that like MJF does. And I do feel like MJF's character is getting very stale. And I never thought I would say that, but the turns and kind of what they've done with him in AEW, he's not the drawing card he used to be. And that sucks because he's a very talented guy. Now, with this promo though, they did such a great job of building a match between them. And remember, these guys are all baby faces. And that was epic. Then you had the New Day segment. So for weeks, people were wondering, okay, is Woods going to turn on Kofi? Is Kofi going to be the heel? Like, I had thought they were going to swerve us and Kofi was going to be the heel. But they actually did a swerve that I was not expecting. Big E came out, which I knew he would. You can't have a New Day celebration without Big E because he was a member of the New Day and still is, well, up until tonight. Comes out and says that he doesn't want them to fight anymore and that he's going to be their manager from now on. And then what happens is, unexpectedly, Kofi and Woods turn on Big E. They don't attack him. They don't beat him up. But they said these verbal things to him about how his injury messed everything up for them and that he didn't really care. Just real dick shit, yo. So the New Day are now heels, which they haven't been heels in a very, very long time. They've been like a fun babyface act on the undercard. Now they're heels. Big E, however, is a babyface. So clearly if and when Big E gets cleared, he's going to have matches already set up with these two. I don't know if he's going to get a tag team partner or what. But now that the New Day are heels, see, that feels like a fresh coat of paint because they've been baby faces for so long. Years and years and years, that now I don't think they're going to be main eventing pay-per-views. But having another undercard heel act, I think is going to work. Plus, it gives them the opportunity at some point to do the New Day versus the Usos. Remember that feud? Except that it'll be face Usos and heel New Day. Though let's not forget the feud they had years ago that went on forever. They can run that one back a couple times, for the nostalgia, because a lot of people grew up in that era. So that was great. And they wound up having this closing show angle where, let me backtrack. Jey Uso gets laid out, mystery attacker, right? They had other stuff too. Like, they had this awesome segment where Finn Balor wanted to wrestle Gunther, but Gunther's like, nah, I'll take it to Dominic. And then they had a match between Dominic and Gunther. I love how Gunther's like, I'm the world champion, but screw you. I'm going to pick who I want to wrestle. And he beat the crap. He destroyed Dominic, man. It was beautiful. This is going to continue that babyface turn for Gunther, bro. It's happening. Now he's feuding with Finn and Dominic. The best way to get someone to cheer you is to beat up Dominic Mysterio. So Triple H gets a big thumbs up because he knew what he was doing. He's like, okay, if we're going to turn this guy, he's got to beat up Dominic because Dominic's the guy that gets the highest boos, one of the guys that does in the company. So Jey Uso gets laid out by a mystery opponent or a mystery person, and Sami thinks it's Seth Rollins, which, of course, in wrestling, when there's a mystery beatdown, it's never the person you suspect because that wouldn't be dramatic. In fact, it's kind of that way with movies too. Like, mystery movies, it's never the first suspect. It's always some mystery suspect. So Sami and Seth have their match, and it was so good. And the finish was such incredible storytelling. This is what WWE has over AEW, man. Like, it's just, AEW is just booked to get high ratings in a cage match and Melter. Like, they just put these matches together to have good matches, like what Punk said. But the drama is what's missing. Now, in some cases, some of their main events do have drama, like the MJF Adam Cole match at All In last year, and even some of the Moxley stuff recently has some drama, but it's not across the card. So what happened here, right, is that Sami was going to hit Seth with a chair, and then Seth is like, listen, I didn't beat up Jey. It really wasn't me. Sami thinks about it, throws the chair away, walks back, gets caught in a small package and pinned. I love that finish. You don't have to put your finisher on the guy. You don't have to. Sami basically got caught in a flash pin, not realizing, oh, well, I got, Seth Rollins outsmarted me. He gets up, out comes a guy wearing a hoodie, and does the Claymore, and of course, it's Drew McIntyre back after his match with CM Punk in Hell in a Cell. So now it's going to be Drew feuding with Sami and Jey Uso. Because let's not forget, they do have unfinished business from last year and earlier this year. So at least now we have a direction, not just for Punk, but also for Drew. We've got a direction for Sami, and we have another 7 weeks to go before the Royal Rumble. So, and we have, of course, Saturday Night's Main Event coming up. So hopefully it'll be good stuff. But yeah, I rarely do like Raw reviews, and I'm not going to review every segment. Pete Dunne wrestled R-Truth, and R-Truth also pinned him, and it was wacky. But I love 2-hour Raws, man. It's going to go back to 3 hours and drag. You know, honestly, it's going to drag. But as of right now, this was a great show. And like I said, when I do a review or a video about the previous night's wrestling, you know that something great happened. This was a great show. 3 huge angles, maybe 4 if you count the Gunther thing. And because that's a separate thing. And great promos and mic work from everybody. It was just a great show. Just a very well-balanced show. You had good matches. You had good matches. You really did. It's not just like AEW's the match company, WWE's the promo company. It used to be like that at one time, but no, you had good work here. All around. So I enjoyed it. What did you think? Let me know in the comments, but I am looking forward to next week, and I never thought I would say that. We'll see what happens, man. More to come.